The laughter started before she even learned where the supply room was, a low ripple of mockery that followed her down the sterile hallway like a stain no amount of bleach could erase. On her very first day, they decided she was weak. Too quiet. Too small. Too soft-eyed to survive the chaos of a trauma ward that swallowed people whole. No one noticed how her hands never shook, how her posture stayed calm even when alarms screamed, how her eyes constantly measured exits and shadows. They mocked the quiet new nurse, unaware that silence had once kept her alive in places where screaming meant death. Her name was Hannah Cole, and she worked the night shift at St. Augustine Medical Center, a place that never truly slept. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and exhaustion, and Hannah blended into it perfectly. She spoke only when necessary, nodded more than she talked, and took the worst shifts without complaint. The senior nurses whispered that she lacked confidence. The interns joked that she looked like she would faint at the sight of blood. When she volunteered to clean trauma rooms after violent cases, they rolled their eyes and let her, assuming she was trying too hard to belong. None of them knew that blood had once soaked her boots for reasons no one here could imagine. Hannah struggled, but not in the way they thought. She struggled with the noise, with the echo of helicopters in her dreams, with the weight of memories she had packed away like old uniforms she refused to throw out. Every time a gurney rushed past, her heart reacted before her mind did. Every code blue reminded her of hands slipping away under desert suns and jungle rain. She had come to this hospital to disappear, to become ordinary, to trade orders and gunfire for 4 drips and whispered prayers beside sleeping patients. She believed that if she stayed quiet enough, the past would stop looking for her. The turning point came on a night when the emergency department overflowed with chaos. A multi-vehicle crash had flooded the trauma bays, and tempers ran as hot as the fluorescent lights. A combative patient lashed out, sending an intern sprawling, and security hesitated just long enough for fear to ripple through the room. While others froze or shouted, Hannah moved. She stabilized the situation with precise, controlled efficiency, her body reacting faster than thought, her presence calm but immovable. Still, when it was over, no one thanked her. They barely noticed. One nurse muttered that it was luck. Another said she must have seen something like that on television. Hours later, the hospital shook with a sound so deep it rattled windows and silenced conversations. The rhythmic thunder of blades cut through the night as a Navy helicopter descended onto the emergency landing pad, its spotlight slicing the darkness like a blade. Nurses and doctors rushed to the windows, confusion spreading as fast as awe. This was not a training exercise. This was not a drill. The aircraft bore markings few recognized, and the urgency in its approach felt different, heavier. Inside the emergency department, officers in uniform moved with purpose, their presence commanding instant respect. They asked for Hannah Cole. Not loudly, not angrily, but with a certainty that made the charge nurse blink in disbelief. Hannah, who had been restocking linens in the corner, felt the air change before anyone called her name. She closed her eyes for a moment, breathing through the wave of memories that crashed over her like cold water. She had hoped this day would never come. As she stepped forward, confusion turned into stunned silence. The officers addressed her with a respect no one in that room had ever shown her, acknowledging her not as a nurse, but as something else entirely. A Navy SEAL combat pro. A medic who had saved lives under fire, who had trained for years in environments designed to break people. The helicopter had come because a critical operation had gone wrong nearby, and there was no one else with her specific skill set close enough to help. They needed her now. The hospital staff watched as the quiet nurse straightened, her demeanor shifting not into arrogance, but into absolute clarity. There was no fear on her face, only focus. She moved with the same calm she had shown all along, but now it made sense. This was not timidity. This was discipline. This was control forged under pressure they could not comprehend. As she boarded the helicopter, the mocking laughter from earlier felt like a cruel echo from another lifetime. The blades lifted her back into the sky she had sworn to leave behind, and the hospital was left buzzing with a different kind of shock. In her absence, the staff replayed every moment they had dismissed her, every joke, every assumption. They realized too late that they had mistaken humility for weakness, silence for fragility. Hannah returned days later, exhausted and quieter than ever. She slipped back into her routine without explanation, without acknowledgement of what she had done. But the hospital had changed. People made room for her now, not out of fear, but respect. They listened when she spoke. They watched how she moved, how she cared for patients with a depth that came from knowing how quickly life could vanish. She never told her story, because she did not need to. The lesson lived in the way the staff treated her, and in the way they treated the next quiet person who walked through those doors. Hannah continued her work, healing in a place that once hurt her, proving that the strongest people are often the ones who make the least noise. And long after the helicopter's echo faded from memory, the impact of that night remained, reminding everyone that you never truly know who someone is until life demands they show it.